Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you a very easy version of stocking stitch. This is a knitting stitch which has these little bird foot patterns on. So if you're doing stocking stitch and you find it a little uninteresting, then adding this nice textured surface to your pattern doesn't change any of the tension, the gauge of the stitch. It just adds these little bird foot patterns all over the surface. So I'm going to show you how to achieve this. I'm using a double knitting or size 3 cotton mix yarn from Sirdar, and I'm just working up a little sample. Now when you're doing this pattern, you'll see that you have some stitches in between the little bird's foot. There are 3 in between in this case, and this stitch takes 1 row and then you do 3 rows in the normal way. You then alternate your 3 stitches and your bird foot stitch. So let's work up our first bird foot stitch on this little sample. I'm just going to move this away so that you can see what I'm doing. I would start with always 1 stitch at the beginning of the row. Then you're going to yarn forward and insert your needle into 3 stitches as if you're going to purl. Yarn round your needle and then push it through, but don't complete this stitch. Yarn round, then you're going to do the same thing but knitwise, and then finally you're going to do the same thing again purlwise. So when you are doing your knitting, make sure that your tension is not too tight, or just go up a half a needle size. So this is actually a 4.5mm needle size, because you don't want it to be too tight. Yarn round the needle, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then repeat your bird foot stitch. Yarn forward into 3 stitches together, start your stitch, yarn back, then do the same thing knitwise, and then yarn forward again to purl. Just give it a little tug before you drop it off the left hand needle. 3 knit, 1, 2, 3. Then we're doing another one. So into 3 stitches together, yarn round, yarn back, knitwise in the same way, but don't finish the stitch. Pull up that middle one and make sure that they're in the right order. Yarn forward through purlwise. You finish off the stitch like so. Yarn to the back. Now we've got to the last 4 stitches. Knit those last 4. Then the next 3 rows are going to be just the straightforward stocking stitch. So this is a purl row because we're on the reverse. I just purling the first stitch. Some people slip the first stitch, some people knit the first stitch and make a garter stitch edging, but you won't, you can decide how to do that yourself. And literally we are just doing purl all the way across. Everybody will hold their needles in slightly different way. This is how I was taught by my grandma. We're just working these quickly across. And I'll show you the effect on the front because you can't really see it until you get to the end of the row. Turn it around. Now, of course, stocking stitch does tend to curl on the first 3 rows. So here you can see those little bird foots emerging. Now we do 2 more rows, 1 plain and then 1 purl. So I'm just going to whip across those quickly, just so that you can see where we place the bird foot stitch on the next row. So it's 1 bird foot stitch, 3 rows of normal stocking stitch. Excuse my needle tapping against the table here. Just that's that row done, and then we'll quickly go across the purl row. So the example I showed you here is actually a vest top made for my daughter, and there is a free pattern. I'll put the link to the pattern in the description below so you can pick that up. Now I adapted that pattern, so it's not exactly the same as that pattern. I have done a jumper in this pattern, long sleeve jumper. She then wanted a vest top, so I've adapted the pattern. I've also raised the neckline a little bit at the front and obviously put some ribbing on the edge of the sleeve hole. So now we've done our 3 rows in between of normal stocking stitch, we're ready to do our interim row of bird foot stitch. So in the previous part of the pattern, we started after 1 stitch. We're going to do these 3 stitches over the top of our bird foot stitch in the normal way. 1, 2, 3, and then we start our bird foot stitch. So yarn forward into 3 stitches as if we were going to purl them together, wrap our yarn back, knit but don't slip off the needle, purlwise to finish off. Now this does make your hands ache a little bit because it's quite tough. It doesn't if you're using acrylic yarn or anything with wool in it, anything with a bit of stretch, but actually with cotton there's no give in cotton. So it is a bit of a fight, but I think it's worth it because doing stocking stitch, whilst it's quick, it does get a bit boring after a while. So 3 knit, and then we'll do the last 3. So purl 3 together but don't slip off, knit the same 3 stitches but don't slip off, purl and ease off the left hand needle onto the back and then knit 1. And then again, it's 3 more rows of stocking stitch. So let me just do the purl row and we'll have a look at how this little sample is working up. Now, as I said before, I don't think this is going to make much difference to your gauge. It shouldn't be any different from if you're just doing ordinary stocking stitch. This little bird foot is not going to make its stretch become any bigger or tighter, but you might want to just check your gauge as you progress to make sure that you are not tightening up or stretching it. It's always worth checking your gauge against the pattern requirement, whatever stitch you're doing. So there we go, we finished that purl row. I want to turn my needle round, place our little swatch down. Let's just zoom in a bit. Sorry, I don't have a very fancy camera. There we go. We can now see how this stitch is emerging and how it compares with the garment that I've already done. So it's exactly the same. And actually, I really like the Sirdar cotton. It's very nice to work with. It crochets beautifully. And so I would highly advise you to have a look at the Sirdar cotton mix. So it's cotton and acrylic. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. If you've enjoyed this video, press subscribe and hit the bell button and give me a thumbs up. So you take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.